All right, right here, you may remember this case. It is the most talked about to this day missing person case. Did you kill Maddie? Greedy demands, open up the Maddie files, Maddie cops quiz, Maddie police chase, critical lead, McCann's are hiding a big secret. It's, oh, McCann's are lying. How dare they it's on and on and on. You may remember little Madeline here on the bottom right of our screen. Look how adorable she is or was. She was born in May 2003, and she disappeared the evening of May 3rd in 2007 from her bed, supposedly in a holiday apartment in a resort in Portugal. This was, according to the newspaper at the time, the most heavily reported missing person case in modern history. Modern. That was my Boston accent. Did you hear it? Modern history. Her whereabouts remain unknown. This I just pulled from Wikipedia. So thanks, Wikipedia, doing what you're doing. I just did a little copy and paste so we can get the skinny here. I brought a quick video. This is going to be a couple minutes long. I am not going to go into deep details here. This is a deeper case. I analyzed this case years ago. I'm curious about current interviews that have been happening with the parents, because back then there was a lot of suspicious hotspots for me. My dream job would be to interview them, to actually interview them. They don't say much because it's still an open case. And as a matter of fact, they are not interviewed, and they do not weigh in on inside this video that Netflix has just launched and came out with a couple of weeks ago. They chose not to comment on it. And they said they don't understand and they don't believe that this video that Netflix has put together is going to help find their daughter, Madeline. So Madeline McCann mysteriously vanished while on the holiday on May 3rd, 2007. Mystery surrounds her disappearance, and Madeline has not been found to this day. This is one of the first interviews. This happened 3 weeks, less than a month after the alleged abduction of their daughter, Madeline. Now, the people who think that they killed their daughter, Madeline had twin siblings as well. And Madeline was left in the room with her twin siblings while the parents went down the street and had dinner with friends, and they would take turns checking on the kids, coming back and checking on the kids. You know, I don't know. I'm from the United States. We just do things differently. I know some people in different countries do something a little differently. I would never leave my 3 babies alone in a house while I went up the street to have dinner. A million things could happen. The house next door could catch on fire. I mean, I just wouldn't do it. So a lot of people think that they perhaps drugged their kids. They are doctors. So people think they drugged their kids to knock them out, and that perhaps they gave little Madeline too much medicine, or she had some type of reaction. She died, and then they hid the body. That's where people who think that the parents were involved. Other people think, no, she was in fact kidnapped. And a lot of the people who think she was kidnapped think that she's been sex trafficked. Maybe she was taken out of Portugal very quickly and sex trafficked. And so I can't wait to see the documentary and current interviews. I'm fascinated. And this is my mission for this week, if Jussie Smollett doesn't keep getting back up to the mic, that is. So we'll see what happens here. Let's watch this video, shall we? And then we're going to wrap up. My night is almost over, everybody. Oh, didn't play. Stand by. Oh, that would have been a nice teaser, huh? Not play it for you?
Jerry and Kate, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. I'd like to begin by taking you back to the events of...
If you're watching this live right now on Facebook with me, I would love for you to post your comments here. If you hear or see something that you think is suspicious, put a comment below in Facebook Live. I'm watching as we go through this video. Is there something here that you're catching up on, because you're becoming a celebrity lie detector in training, which I have baseball hats here. They're over here by a box. I thought I had one on the table. It's my celebrity lie detector live sweatshirt. I don't know if you can see it in the back. So can you see it? Celebrity lie detector live. I'm gonna be giving away one of these soon too. I gave away a bunch of hats. If you received a hat from me last week, I sent out 12 hats. Be sure to send me a picture of you and your hat. I'll make a slide for next week of everyone in their Celebrity Lie Detector Live in training hats. All right, what do you see and hear? Tell me.
May the 3rd, on that evening. Tell us how you discovered that Madeline had gone.
As I think people are aware, we were checking regularly on the children. And it was during one of my checks that I discovered she'd gone. And I can't really go into any details about that. But as I think people are aware, we were checking regularly on the children. And it was during one of my checks that I discovered.
Okay. So she's saying that during my check, I discovered she was gone, and her eyebrows are going to go up in this eyebrow flash right here. This is indicative of surprise. This is indicative of surprise happening. Let's see, I'm going to let it run out. I would think, so I always try to think, everyone responds differently to fear. This is 3 weeks after a daughter's been missing. They've come out and along with their representative who now speaks on their behalf, and they've said, well, the police told them not to be overly emotional because the kidnappers could be watching, and they get excited. They get off on watching the family being tormented and overly emotional. So this is what they're saying, or the spokesperson saying. I don't know if that's true or not. If the police told them not to be emotional or not, I have no idea. However, I do see a little eyebrow flash here, which is indicative of surprise. So the surprise could be, yes, in fact, she was gone, and the surprise could be she came back and her daughter was dead.
We were checking regularly on the children, and it was during
May the 3rd on that evening. Tell us how you discovered that Madeline had gone.
As I think people are aware, we were checking regularly on the children. And
all right. Now, this could be a potential hotspot. You said we were checking regularly on the children. So the children create some distance instead of our children. We were checking on our kids. We were checking on our kids. We left our kids there. We were checking on our kids every couple hours or every 20 minutes. We check on our kids. We check on our kids. She says the children here. So just a little hiccup. Here's a little hiccup that I would just write a tick mark and be like, that's interesting. The children.
It was during one of my checks that I discovered she'd gone. I can't really go into any detail.
I discovered she's gone. The hotspot here is she's not saying her daughter's name here. I discovered she's gone. Now, granted, she could have done a million interviews this day, but supposedly this is the first interview they did after Madeline went missing. 3 weeks after she went missing, this is the first sit-down interview supposedly that they did. So it came in and she was gone, and there's no name, and our daughter Madeline, our oldest, there's nothing here. Our oldest daughter, Madeline, as you know, Madeline was gone, right? So we just don't have that. We just have she was gone. She was gone. The father's breathing heavy. Mikkel is saying, I'm not sure if I'm saying Mikkel's name correctly. She knows what she did that night, and she stopped talking like she's thinking of what to say. Gone could be dead and not missing. That's right, Angela. He asked when she discovered she was gone. When the father's breathing heavy, I discovered she's gone. I discovered she's gone. All right, so let's go back to that. I discovered she's gone. Let's listen to that again.
That Madeline is gone.
So the reporter said when notice that she was gone. All right, so we can have repetitive language. Oftentimes we'll parrot what the interviewer says.
As I think people are aware, we were checking regularly on the children.
So as I think people are aware, this is a little bit of a character testimony here. As anyone will tell you, as people, as many of you are already aware, it's unnecessary language. And truthful people convey, liars try to convince. So right out of the gate, she's like setting up her case for us to convince us. This is a very odd place to put this language. We do this as speakers because it puts you in the story. Had you been there, as you might imagine, as you might believe. And when we say things like this, as you might believe, or as you might imagine, or had you been there, what we begin to get you to do is we hijack your brain and you feel like you're there. You begin to believe what we want you to believe. We begin to have you see what we want you to see. So this language right here, this almost hypnotic language to get us to say like, oh, we all know this. Everybody knows this. It's common knowledge, as you're probably aware. It's 3 weeks after their daughter went missing.
Tell us how you discovered that Madeline had gone.
As I think people are aware, we were checking regularly on the children. And
father looks angry. Look how angry he looks. Look at that. Okay. He blames her. She did it. I don't know. I'm just saying that. I shouldn't say that. I don't know yet.
It was during one of my checks that I discovered she'd gone.
Oh, what happened? Janine.
We were checking regularly on the children, and it was during one of my checks I discovered she'd gone, and it was during one of my checks that I discovered she'd gone. And I can't really go into any detail.
All right, so let's explore this, okay? So during who talked about that, about being gone in here? There's so many questions lighting up here. Oh my gosh, there's so many. All right, so whoever said that, I love that. Gone, Angela Marie Carter. Gone could be dead or not missing, all right? And then someone else wrote something about the word gone. All right, so I want to talk about how we tell stories, all right? So let me think of an example I can tell you guys. All right, let me think of an example. So I'm going to tell you about my son. This really happened. My son, Angus, who's now 13, but when he was young, I think he was 3, I was at the Target with my mother-in-law, and we had a new live-in au pair from Hannah from Austria, and we were all Target. And my husband was out in the car, and the car was parked in front of the Target. And Target has a bottom floor and a top floor. And we're on the top floor. My husband's parked outside the door on the top floor. And as I'm gathering some type of clothes, I forget, pretty close to where the doors are, pretty close in, I'm gathering something, I'm looking for something. My son was with my mother-in-law over by the cash register. And then he left her and came over to me, and he's right in front of me, Angus. He was the littlest, I think he was 2. Angus is right in front of me, and I'm looking, and my au pair has him. And I go, keep an eye on Angus. I'm going to go grab something. And I grab something, and she goes, where's Angus? I go, what do you mean, where's Angus? You had Angus. I asked you to keep an eye on him. She's like, oh, I thought he went with you. And now my mother-in-law is over at the cash register over here, and she's like turning around, and she's like, Angus, Angus. And I'm like, I think Haley has him. I mean, Haley. Hold on. I had an au pair named Hannah and Haley. Hey, Hannah. I think Hannah has him. She had him a second ago. And then I go find Hannah, and she doesn't have him. She's like, oh, I thought Angus was you. I panic. The first thing that a mother does, if you're a mother, is you got to go block the doors, because if someone kidnaps your kid, they're going to go out a door. So first thing you want to do is scream for help and run to a door, because you want to look outside and see if anyone left, because this is what they try to do. So you want to block the doors. And stores have a code, including Target. They have a code. You have to tell them a lost kid, and they'll put employees by the doors so people can't leave as well. So they call in the code. I'm in a panic, because they're asking me questions like, what's he wearing? And I'm like, I don't know. He's a kid. He's just wearing clothes. I don't know what he's wearing. And I'm like freaking out. I can't remember what I put on my son. I don't know what clothes he's wearing. How can 3 adults be there? I run out to the car. I say to my husband, did Angus come out here? He's like, no, and I'm freaking out. It takes 20 minutes for us to finally find him. Angus went down the escalator to the bottom floor and was hiding inside the dressing rooms. He was playing hide and seek, and he hid inside the dressing room. It was one of the most terrifying, top 5 scary moments of my entire life. And when I saw him, I didn't scream at him. I just loved him up. And from that day forward, I never let him go. I always put him in a cart, always. He's always in a shopping cart. He either has to hold it while we walk or go in. Now he's 13 and 5'10.5". So I'm 5'9", so he's like this tall. So he doesn't have to do it anymore. But his little brothers have to do it. What did you know? This is a true story. So what did you notice about my story versus Madeline McCann's mother here, Mrs. McCann? A couple things. A normal truthful story has what are called illustrators in it. And you could see me, like I screamed over to my mother-in-law. I looked over here. There's details here, right? Even if it's an open case, there's details. I looked and I couldn't find Angus anywhere. And I'm like screaming, and they're asking me. And they're coming over. What is he wearing? I'm like, I don't know what he's wearing. And I recreate the story as if I was there. And this is what truthful people do. And we're just not seeing that here with the mother, are we? We're just not seeing her use these illustrators while she's telling a story. She just skips right through it. She just skips right through the story. And I went, and she was gone. No, what happened? You went in the room and you checked on the kids and two of them were there. And then the blanket was on the floor from Madeline. And I'm like, this makes no sense. And then I checked in the closet and I looked under the bed and she wasn't under the bed. And I'm like, where could she be? Maybe she went out and went to the bathroom. And then she wasn't anywhere. She wasn't anywhere. And I started freaking out. And then my mom, I called for my husband, or I called 911. There's nothing here. I went into the room and she was gone. This is incredibly suspicious. Now, I don't know how she's coached for this interview, but I got to tell you, this behavior is indicative of someone who's holding something back, like the truth. There's no illustrators. There's no change in tone and pitch. We're not seeing sadness or devastation. She's not giving us the details where we should be having the details. So she just walked in and her daughter is gone. We just don't talk like that, because you go back and you relive it. I went in, I lifted up the blankets and she wasn't there. And I looked at the other two kids and I'm like, do you know, I woke them up, or I called 911, or I screamed out the door. I mean, she's telling us nothing. This is that, in Seinfeld, they used to call it the yada, yada, yada syndrome. So it's like the yada, yada, yada. I went to the grocery store. You're never going to believe what happened. I walked in and guess who I saw? Anyway, yada, yada, yada. Next thing you know, I'm out for a drink and I wake up and I find out I'm pregnant 3 weeks later. It's like, what part of the story did I just miss right here? So this is unbelievably suspicious. So for the people out there who think they're involved, this type of behavior, without a doubt, is screaming, they totally did it. Does it mean they did it? No, maybe there's a reason behind it. I would love to interview them. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Let's watch a little more, because I'm going to go in deeper next week. Are you following me here, everybody? Are you giving me some feedback? Are you listening to what I'm saying? My story versus theirs. My sister died in 2004. I still can't talk about her death without crying. Mary Gerard Phillips, I'm sorry for your loss. We all think it's unthinkable for a parent. We don't want to believe this. No fluff added to your story in the beginning, the middle, or the end. No, I just told this. I mean, that's really my story. Just dry. She broke the 20, 80, 10 rule, right? Or so sometimes I'll say 30, 50, 20, or 25, 50, 25. Bottom line is the most important part of the story should be a minimum of 50%. And a lot of liars will give a lot of lead up because that part can be truthful. And then the part where there's an incident, they just skip through it. That's just a yada, yada. And they may not tell us any story afterwards. All right, here we go. I got to rewind this. I'm going to play it a little longer this time.
Tell us how you discovered that Madeline had gone.
As I think people are aware, we were checking regularly on the children, and it was during one of my checks that I discovered she'd gone, and I can't really go into any details about that, but we were checking regularly on the children, and it was during one of my checks that I discovered she'd gone.
That Madeline had gone.
As I think people are aware, we were checking regularly on the children, and it was during one of my checks that I discovered she'd gone, and I can't really go into any details about that, but I'm sure any parent will realise how that felt.
The panic set in immediately.
All right, character testimony again. I'm sure any parent will know how that felt, okay? So I'm sure any parent will know how that felt. So this is character testimony here. And you could look at me as potentially giving some character testimony, because I set up my story when I shared my story about Angus running off when he was a little toddler in Target. What did I say? I said, any parent knows when your kid escapes or your kid's missing, one of the first things you do is go by a door. You want to block doors, because that's where the kids, or if someone's kidnapping your kid, that's where they'll go. So you could say, well, Janine, you character testimony by saying that. You're right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, pretty much. This is squishy language, by the way. Squishy language. We heard this kind of language with Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg was hired by the Winklevoss twins to create something similar to Facebook. And we got a hold of, my team and I, some emails that he sent to the Winklevoss twins, along with some transcripts of voicemail messages that he left. And he used this squishy language. And it's in my book, You Say More Than You Think. If you've not picked that up, it's a New York Times bestseller, translated in, I don't even know, 12 languages now, 14 languages around the world. I'd love for you to buy it so we can continue to work together. I don't care. I get Advance. It's a Harper. I mean, it's a, my other book's HarperCollins. You can't lie to me. It's a Random House book by Crown. So that means I get an advance up front. They pay me hundreds of thousands of dollars to write that book. And when you buy the book, it's just $2 off my advance. And I don't know if my advance will ever be paid off. So they don't really care. So if you want to buy that book so we can work together, then it's great. But I put in there a description of Mark the Winklevoss twins, the messages they received from Mark Zuckerberg. And one of the messages said, I just received about 3 of your phone calls. Really? I just received about 3 of your phone calls. You can count 3. So I received all 3 of your phone calls. And here's the deal. I just received about. So here's this squishy language. We're hearing it here as well.
But I'm sure during one of my checks that I discovered she'd gone. I mean, I can't really go into any details about that, but I'm sure any parent will realise how that felt.
The panic set in immediately.
Pretty much.
This is a resort that offers childcare facilities, babysitting facilities. The panic set in immediately.
Yeah. Pretty much.
What? All right. The question is, did panic set in immediately? And she said, yeah, pretty much. That's like me asking you, did you like your lunch? How'd you like your lunch? Was it good? Yeah, it was. It was pretty good. Yeah, pretty much. It was pretty good. Is this when panic set in? Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. What? This is like, yeah, I was panic. Panic is an understatement. Like for me, even retelling the story of Angus, I could feel my breathing like get really shallow and I could feel the panic just reliving that moment. It was one of the scariest moments of my entire life. My entire life, I freaked out and I wanted to fire my au pair. Oh my gosh, it was her first day in the job. She just arrived the night before. It was not a good experience. And then I was like, can I trust this girl with my kid? Oh my God, with my son? So here pretty much super suspicious. Let's keep going a little further. Are you enjoying this?
This is a resort that offers childcare facilities, babysitting facilities. Why then were the 3 young children left alone in the apartment while you were having a meal?
I mean, I think if you know the location here, which you've seen, what we did, I think, and we've been reassured by the fact in the thousands of messages from people who've either done exactly the same or said they would have done the same.
Get character testimony, picking up on this, thousands of messages of people who did the same. Someone wrote here on Facebook, though, they have friends in England. They said, no, people in England don't leave their kids in hotels unattended and go to eat dinner up the street and then check on them every couple of minutes. All right. So down right. So if you were watching earlier in this episode 6, an earlier segment, if you missed it, you can check it out with neurolinguistic programming with eye movement. We know if he's a right-handed person, he's likely going into emotions here. If he's lefty, he could be going into self-talk, some dialogue. This character testimony is unnecessary. Let's see.
I think, and we've been reassured by the fact in the thousands of messages from people who've either done exactly the same or said they would have done the same. And for us, we've done the same, and 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 we've done the same. And for us, it really, we've done the same.
This is contempt. Disgust. Do you see him?
We've done the same. We've done the same. And messages from people.
I'm going to try to freeze frame this. This is disgust right like this.
Who've either done exactly the same or they would have done the same.
Right there. So I don't know if you saw me go through it. There's a little disgust right here. That's interesting.
And for us, it really wasn't very much different to having dinner in your garden and the proximity of the location. I think it's fair to say that, the guilt that we feel having not been there at that moment, irrespective of say that, the guilt that we feel having not been there at that moment, irrespective of whether we had been in the other bedroom or not, will never leave us.
All right, who's picking up on the tut-tutting here? Laurel. So we talked about this in last week's episode of Celebrity Lie Detector Live. My name's Janine Driver, Celebrity Lie Detector Live every Wednesday night, Facebook. Between 10 and 10:30, I go live East Coast time, and I go for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We're wrapping up. This is the last segment of episode 6 of Celebrity Lie Detector. Be sure to like me, follow me, give me a heart, share it with your friends, watch it together live. I answer questions live on Facebook while we record the show. Last week we talked about tut-tuttering. So what we have here is when someone goes, they go, hold on, how do I do it again? Like this. We saw this with Elizabeth, heard this with Elizabeth Holmes, like that. Hold on, how do I do it? I can't do it. I can't do it. It's this little sound effect that you make with the thing, like this. There it is. My brain took a little while. Your mother used to do this, or your grandmother. When you hear this tut-tuttering, right? You'll often hear it. We saw this with Elizabeth Holmes when she was asked, tell us a secret. Tell us a secret. She 7 seconds, doesn't talk, and then goes, blah, blah, blah. When you hear this is like, stop. I don't like your line of questioning. I don't like your line of questioning. So you're hearing some tut-tuttering here with him. Good job. Let's back him up a smidge.
It really wasn't very much different to having dinner in your garden and the proximity of the location. Reassured by the fact that the thousands of messages from people who've either done exactly the same or said they would have done the same. And for us, it really wasn't very much different to having dinner in your garden and the proximity of the location. I think it's fair to say that, the guilt that we feel having not been there at that moment, irrespective of whether we had been in the other bedroom or not.
All right, so you see that long eye blinking happening here. I'm not done just yet. You see that long eye blocking. We've talked about that in the past. We see long eye blocks. It's like, I don't want to see it, right? So we cover our eyes. We don't want to see it. We cover our ears. We don't want to hear. We cover our mouth, and I don't want to say it. Our hands are interesting that way. So we have this long eye block here, which is interesting. I feel like right out of the gate, he should be, listen, literally, I don't care if everybody does it. Let me caution you. If you do this right now, if you're one of the thousands of people that do this, never do it. Stop doing it. It is not okay because someone took our daughter. Our daughter is missing now because of something that just because everyone else does it doesn't mean that it's okay. Our daughter is missing. So if you leave your kids alone, stop doing that right now. Never do it again because the pain we're going through is unbelievable. We are missing our daughter because of a stupid move we made. Stupid move. And every day we second guess that move. He's about to say, I think he's going to get into that right here. But the fact that he doesn't say it right out of the gate and he's justifying his actions, this concerns me because if someone came and kidnapped your kid or is going to traffic your kid, personally, I'd be full of blame and shame, like right out of the gate. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I did it a million other times and there was never a problem. This time, like, it was so stupid of me. So stupid. And why aren't they mad at each other? Like, like it was your idea. It was your idea to do this. Like, there's nothing, right? It's just, I don't know, man. This is suspicious for me.
Naive.
Good thing to say.
But I think as time goes on,
the location here.
First childcare facilities, babysitting facilities.
We saw this.
I mean, what we did, I think, and we've been reassured by the fact that the thousands of messages from people who've either done exactly the same or said they would have done the same. And for us, it really wasn't very much different to having dinner in your garden and the proximity of the location. I think it's fair to say that, the guilt that we feel having not been there at that moment, irrespective of whether we had been in the other bedroom or not, will never leave us.
Do you blame yourselves regularly?
Certainly the first few days, I think the guilt was very difficult.
God, it's going to explode my head. Certainly the first few days, the guilt was really difficult. It's been 3 weeks, 21 days. Your daughter is missing for 21 days. As a mother, if I have a 4-year-old, my youngest, Jack, if someone took him and he's been gone for 21 days, almost a month, and I was interviewed and you asked me, do I feel guilty? Do you think I'm going to justify it and say, well, in the beginning, yeah, but it's getting easier as it goes along. No, I would be like, do I feel guilty? Every breath, I can't sleep. I just keep having nightmares about him, about where he is, if he's safe. I'm worried about him. I'm pleased if you know anything on where he is. I mean, just nothing. And I get it that they can be coached and the questions can be specific. But the first couple of days, we felt pretty bad about ourselves. Your daughter has been missing for 3 weeks, 21 days, potentially being raped, being tortured, being beaten, being unbelievable things happening to her. And you feel a little guilty in the first couple of days. I don't get it. I mean, I can't wrap my head around it. I can't wait to see the documentary because I can't get it. I can't get why they're so disconnected to a reality. Unless, in fact, they did give them some type of drug or gave Madeline some type of drug and she died and they know that she's dead and they know she's not being tortured. They know she died a peaceful death because she took a drug and then she just fell asleep and died in her sleep. And even though that's scary for them, they know that she's in a better place. And so the only thing they have is the guilt of not being caught. See, when people lie, they have trouble talking in the negative. I had a boyfriend that cheated on me one time. And I said to him, he was off with a married woman. His name's Bill. And I asked him, he came in with a coat on, his work coat. It was freezing outside in DC. He was walking around outside. He goes, I was thinking about our future and what we're going to do and about our next step. And he was kind of living with me, 90% of the time. And meanwhile, I knew he cheated because I saw in his notebook that he was going out with this woman that I knew he had a affair with, this married woman from years earlier. And his booklet was on the table that we lived with when he left and he wasn't coming home. It was 1 a.m. And I said, well, you must have froze your ass off out there. You only had your coat and you weren't walking around. You're just your business coat, your dress coat, your suit coat, no winter coat. He goes, no, I was fine. No, I was fine. I was fine. See, liars have trouble because they're remembering the truth and they're remembering the lie. And so when you get them talking in the negative, it creates too much. It's like cognitive dissonance in the brain. It's too much happening at the same exact time. So they'll often be like, oh yeah, everything's okay. Everything's okay. Where a truthful person would own it and be like, yes, I am tortured every single day of every single second. Okay. Watch this. Hey, they should have watched Harry Met Sally. When Tom Hanks talks about, I breathe in and I breathe out every single day. I miss her every breath I take watch that, Harry Met Sally, and that particular part of the movie. I should have put it here below. That would have been more believable than this. But hey, maybe something else is going on. I got to keep watching more. I'm going to give you guys 5 more minutes of this and we're going to shut it down.
I think as time goes on, we feel stronger and we felt very supported from that point of view.
Is there a lesson here, do you think, to other parents?
We feel stronger and we felt very supported.
Being in the other bedroom or not will never leave us.
Do you blame yourselves regularly?
Certainly the first few days, I think the guilt.
I don't know if you saw the father there, at least discussed on that
never
question.
Leave us.
Do you blame yourself regularly?
Do you blame yourselves regularly?
Watch the father. Great. Looks down.
The first few days, I think.
There's a little disgust right here.
The guilt was very difficult.
The first few days, the guilt was difficult. Your daughter could be being raped, tortured, abused, unbelievable things happening. And you felt guilt for the first few days? I don't even know if I have to look up much more than this.
I think as time goes on,
and as your daughter continues
we feel
to be
stronger, and we felt very supported from that point of view.
Is there a lesson here, do you think, to other parents?
I think that's a very difficult thing to say, because if you look at it, and we try to rationalise things in our head, and ultimately what is done, and we do continually look forward. But we've tried to put it into some sort of perspective for ourselves. We're in a very safe resort. If you think about the millions and millions of British families who go to the Mediterranean each year.
Oh, someone corrected me and said Billy Crystal, not Tom Hanks. No, it's not Harry Met Sally. It's the Tom Hanks one. What is the Tom Hanks one where the wife dies? What's that movie called? I'm saying it wrong. Not Harry Met Sally. It's Sleepless in Seattle. Sleepless in Seattle. That's it. Thank you for correcting me. Facebook Live. You guys are the best. All right, let's watch a couple more minutes.
Really, the chances of this happening are in the order of 100 million to 1.
I think
millions and millions of British families who go to the Mediterranean each year. Really, the chances of this happening.
Are you kidding me? The chances of this happening are like 1,000,000 to 1. You know, the chances of me winning the lottery are like 1,000,000 to 1. The chances of this happening, of your daughter being kidnapped and tortured and abused and having the worst things happen to your kid. I lost my son Angus in a Target for, it seemed like 15, 20 minutes, but it could have been 2 minutes. And it was torturous. And I blamed myself. I'm like, how could I have the au pair watch him? Why didn't I leave Angus in the car with my husband? I freaked out. I'm like, oh my God. I felt terrible forever to this day. And Angus is gigantic, right? It's like I changed everything when I go to a store. The kids either have to be in the cart or hold the carriage. It changed my life forever. I was mad at myself. I was mad at the world. And these people are like, everyone's supporting us. And, the likelihood of this happening is like 1 in 1,000,000. And it just happened to us. Oh my God, thank God I have 2 more kids. You know what I mean? It is way too casual. I don't know. This screams liar to me. If there's ever such thing as pants on fire and the nose growing, I can't wait to watch the documentary. If there is something that is going to sway my opinion, but if it was 0 to 100% is they're lying, I'm at 90%, if not 92%. So you have an 8% chance of swaying me, and maybe it can happen. Maybe I'll be swayed, and we'll find out. I'm going to talk next week when I find more material from the McCann family, the husband and wife, find out other interviews that they've done, and watch this documentary 4 hours. I cannot wait. I'll be watching it tomorrow night and Saturday and Sunday. And this is my project. All right. My name's Janine Driver. Tonight we talked about the Jussie Smollett charges being dropped. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. A friend of mine wrote that on Facebook. I loved it. Do you get it? Do you get that? Whiskey Tango Foxtrot? WTF, right? What WTF? I love, that's my new expression. I love that. That's my friend Michael. So Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. And then Gary Sinise video, the tribute where we saw him do this. And it's often connected with deceptive people, but we know it was something else here. If you missed that segment, be sure to go back and watch it. And then we looked into the Madeleine McCann case, just a little bit, a splash, and we'll go deeper next week. Probably spend an hour on it next week. So I'm so excited to have you guys come back. Also next week, we'll be covering, if I have time, I'll tell you in a second. That's my new logo. Don't you love it? I love it. Celebrity Lie Detector. My name's Janine Driver. I'm going to tell you who else we're talking about next week. Hang on one more second. And next week, we will talk about not only the Madeleine McCann case in more details, we are going to talk about a case that I had hoped to talk about this week, and I just ran out of time. That's right. Do you remember this guy? Stephen Avery. Netflix is doing another part. People are asking me about it. I didn't even know it was out. So I'm so excited to follow Stephen Avery and see what's going on. I followed every single case, every single episode of the Stephen Avery Making of a Murderer. Went on Dr. Drew. He had me on about 5 times a week over on the Dr. Drew show. I'm missing Dr. Drew. If you happen to watch this, my friend, Dr. Drew, I love you, my dear. What a nice guy. I got to tell you, when I gave birth to Charlie, my middle son, who's 5 now, Dr. Drew sent me this rocking horse that played music. It was this big, huge rocking horse, and definitely cost him a couple $100. So it was really nice. And he put a picture of me holding baby Charlie right after the C-section. My mother, when it was on, he put it on television. My mother goes, "Hey, a friend of mine thought you were wearing lipstick after on that C-section." And I go, yeah, I was. She goes, you have lipstick on? I go, yeah, not only that, I have my eyebrows done. So I love you, Dr. Oz, and your team. I miss Bert and all your producers over there. My name's Janine Driver. Thanks for tuning in. I'm the Celebrity Lie Detector. You can see me here. You can see me on CNN occasionally, The Today Show, and shows like, you name it, I'm on it. Harry Potter. I'll see you next week. That's how my sister dances. Love you guys. See you next Wednesday night. Bye, everybody. I love you. Over and out. See you guys.